US and Iran have agreed to a peace deal which will end military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, which was a major point of contention between the two sides. The initial announcement was made by mediator Pakistan. It was quickly confirmed by both Washington and Tehran. An official signing ceremony is now scheduled for the 19th of June in Switzerland. In a post on his Truth Social network, Trump said US naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz would be removed and the Strait would reopen after the planned signing of the deal on Friday, apparently contradicting an earlier statement that the crucial waterway would open immediately. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi, in a televised comment, said that negotiations for a final deal will be held during a 60-day period, which starts after the signing, adding that Tehran would take its own measures in case there are breaches from the other side.
This memorandum of understanding was reached despite our complete distrust of our enemies. We have no trust in the enemy. Our trust lies in our military strength, our diplomatic capabilities, and the support and unity of our own people.
Well, the content of the agreement remains unclear. Iran's Mehr news agency reported that the US will release $12 billion in frozen assets to Iran before the start of the negotiations. It even quoted a 14-point memorandum of understanding between the two nations, which it said stipulated the release of $24 billion in frozen Iranian assets during the 60-day negotiation period that begins after the MOU is signed. The fate of Iran's nuclear program, another major point of contention, is also expected to be addressed during those talks, sources previously told Reuters. Just hours before the deal was announced, Tehran had vowed to retaliate for an Israeli strike on Hezbollah in Beirut's suburbs, a move that threatened to derail this entire agreement, as it has in the past as well. Trump briefed Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu on the progress towards the deal during a phone call on Sunday. And according to Israeli media, that's what's being reported. In an interview with the New York Times, Trump described Netanyahu as a difficult guy and even argued that the Israeli leader should thank Donald Trump for obtaining a nuclear, for keeping Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, leaders beyond West Asia welcomed news of the agreement. In a joint statement, the UK, Germany, France and Italy, they said that they were prepared to ease sanctions in Iran in exchange for clear, verifiable steps limiting Tehran's nuclear program. Now, there are a lot of grey areas, as Iran says that the Strait of Hormuz will still very much be in their fold. They will jointly maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz along with Oman. The US says, that's Donald Trump saying, that the Strait of Hormuz will be open. Then the release of the Iranian assets is going to happen over a course of these 60 days. Iran wants it done at the earliest. And at this point, there is no clarity on the nuclear program, whether Iran is now allowed or will be able to continue to enrich uranium. And what happens to the uranium which is already enriched in Iran? There's no clarity on that either. Whereas in Lebanon, the fighting still continues between Israel and Hezbollah. So largely, all the sticking points, they persist. But as of now, we're heading towards a signing for a memorandum of understanding on the 19th of June. All right, let me get an update on this from our Assistant Editor, Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal. He's joining us live on the phone line. Siddhant, sticking points, very much still as sticky as they've always been. And there is a signing still, which is now scheduled for the 19th. How do you assess it?
Well, Shivan, I am standing near the location where the summit is going to take place. It is just past 5:30 a.m. here, local time, and it is going to be a packed day. Possibly, if I can show you 5:30 a.m. in the morning, what it looks like. It's almost empty, if you can see behind me on the ground. But essentially, overnight, it was a packed development in India and here, as well as Donald Trump and the Pakistani Prime Minister, along with the Iranians, announced that the peace deal will be signed. Now, what is interesting to me is that the signing comes just one day after the G7 summit concludes in France, and it happens just 1 hour away from the location of the G7 summit in Geneva. Now, we know that it is expected that in the signing ceremony, JD Vance is going to participate, but it has huge implications when it comes to the Hormuz. Any opening will be a sigh of relief for the entire global south, including India, because its closure, of course, has been the most problematic part of the war for the global south because of the increased prices of energy and its impact on the inflation, global inflation. That impacts the poorest of poor in the global south. We have seen reactions coming in. We're waiting for reactions from the global south, from India. Overnight, there was a statement as well, including by the Europeans, a joint statement which included Italians, German, French, and the French president, of course, was among the first to welcome the deal. Now, the big question is how long it will last. There are still nitty-gritties left, obviously, but the fact that both sides are at least on the same page is something that is of a welcome development. This week, of course, ahead of the signing, the G7 summit happens, and during the G7 summit, there will be a special session on the West Asia situation in which West Asian leaders, including leaders from Qatar, UAE, and others, have been invited. This session, of course, will see the US President and the Indian Prime Minister also participating. The French side, of course, is pushing for an initiative on Hormuz. How it looks like, is this an initiative that is a post-war initiative where, of course, international forces help in movement of the vessels. India, of course, is a big stakeholder now, especially in terms of the large number of seafarers India has globally. And we have seen how Indian seafarers were killed last week off the Oman coast by the Americans. And that, of course, has led to a lot of anger against the Americans, something that is expected to be discussed when the Indian Prime Minister and the US President hold talks on Wednesday at the G7 Outreach Summit.
Yeah, Siddhant, now as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned, Iran mentions that Iran and Oman together will maintain that autonomy over the Strait of Hormuz, maybe in lesser in degree, but they will continue to hold sway over the territory, over that area. And they have a geographical advantage there. US says they're going to be out and the strait will be open for all. So that itself is a discrepancy. And it is essential that this strait is opened. And us as Indians and, of course, large countries towards this side of the world are feeling it, along with Europe as well. But what happens to the Strait of Hormuz? How do you read into it? Because there are differing statements coming from both sides.
Well, I would like to say that anything which involves Donald Trump will have discrepancies because this is something that we have seen since the end of the so-called 40-day war. There were claims by Donald Trump that war is over, Iranians have surrendered. It's clear that when it comes to this conflict, Iranians do have an upper edge, and no wonder that this peace deal is a signing of equals, not a signing of unequals. So clearly, when it comes to Hormuz, yes, there will be claims, counterclaims that is going to happen, but how the actual situation unfolds on the ground is something that we'll get to know possibly first after the end of after the end of this week when the signing takes place. And also there are more negotiations left. Both sides have left a large window open for more negotiations on other contentious issues. So it looks like this is an ongoing development that is going to continue and will carry on.
Understood. Siddhant, thanks so much for getting us the latest. That's our Assistant Editor, Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, reporting from EVIA. He will be getting us the latest through the course of the week as all the action is now centered in France, what we'll be seeing.